Nancy Pelosi has put the stakes of 2020 on the table, whether it is Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, or whatever one of the 24 socialists, identified as Democrats, is left standing at the end of this disarmament primary. Now, if any one of them becomes president, this is what's going to happen. Listen.
You want to talk about a national emergency? Let's talk about today, the 1-year anniversary of another manifestation of the epidemic of gun violence in America. That's a national emergency. Why don't you declare that emergency, Mr. President? I wish you would. But a Democratic president can do that. Democratic president.
Yeah, but Obama didn't either, did he? Well. Fucking stupid bitch.
I hope you heard her loud and clear.
We did.
She said that the epidemic of quote-unquote gun violence is a national emergency. Why don't you declare that emergency, Mr. President? I wish you would, but a Democratic president can do that. End quote. A national emergency to confiscate firearms. I mean, what else do you propose? They always said that this is just common sense. Nobody's coming for your firearms. But there's the Speaker of the House calling for a national emergency to push what? Further disarmament? How much more can you restrict the Second Amendment? A national emergency to redistribute our freedoms to them, where Nancy Pelosi is protected by guns while the rest of us are left defenseless? This is what is at stake. This Speaker of the House, who's being controlled by the socialists in her party, she didn't mince her words. If a disarmament Democrat becomes president of the United States, well, she promised right there they will declare an emergency to go after firearms.
There's a lot of reporting out there. There's a lot of crime data out there. There's a lot of Department of Homeland Security data out there that shows border crossings at a near record low. That shows undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels. That shows undocumented criminals, undocumented immigrants committing crime at lower levels than native-born Americans.
That's a lie.
What do you say?
You don't really believe that. You really believe that?
What do you say?
Take a look at our federal prison.
I believe in facts and statistics.
Okay, and you want quick. Let's go.
Let me just ask you this: what do you say to your critics who say that you are
go pound sand up your ass? I'm the president.
National emergency here in order to get your wall because
I
you couldn't get it thrown away.
What do you think? You think I'm creating something? Ask these incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons. Okay, because your question is.
Establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Enhance border security, including the border wall. In fact, it seems they're willing to shut down the federal government instead of supporting President Trump's urgent request for $5 billion to fund the border wall. What is especially strange is that some of my colleagues on the other side have already supported a wall in the past. Some have even voted in support of a border wall. What has changed? I think the answer is very simple. I think some of my colleagues are so committed to appeasing the so-called resistance that they find themselves opposing a very basic and common sense idea like border security just because they want to earn points from the most extreme part of their political base.
Yep.
This is really not a complicated issue. This is about the safety and security of the American people. This is about keeping terrorists out of our country. This is about keeping illegal drugs out of our country.
Yep.
This is about keeping criminals out of our country. This shouldn't be hard. Why am I so passionate about this? Because this is a critical issue. When I talk to the people I represent back in Alabama, they are passionate
I think
about
that's
it.
him.
This is one of the top issues I hear about at events and town halls throughout Alabama. In fact, the phones in my office have been ringing all day with people urging us to stand strong, secure our borders, and build the wall. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a fight worth fighting. I think pushing to ensure the safety of the American people is worthy, and it's absolutely a critical fight. So I urge my colleagues to stop playing to the resistance, come back toward a common sense idea like securing our border, pass this amendment, pass the funding bill, and ensure the safety of the American people. And I yield back.
If you call 911 here, it takes an hour or hour and a half for the sheriff to get here. So how do we protect ourselves? We pack guns. I have a gun with me everywhere I go. We live in a no man's land. We live in an area controlled by the Sinaloa cartel. All the mountains back here, we've seen cartel scouts all around us. In fact, they may be watching us now.
This was back January 26, 2018. Read slowly and carefully will become critically important in coming weeks. Continue to track those who are resigning across all platforms. Where there was once darkness, there will be now light.
For the last 3 years, I have been locked in federal litigation with Brenda Snipes. And so, yes, I have sat in depositions with her. I have had her on the stand as my witness in a federal court trial down in Miami. I've deposed her entire staff. I've been in the office. I've probably spent about a total of a month with Dr. Snipes, she insists, with Dr. Snipes in various court and discovery processes. I can tell you from firsthand experience that office is a complete shambles. It's a mess. I mean, I just have a few examples for you. We found voters who were registered that were born, their birth date was when Grover Cleveland was president. And that's his first non-consecutive term. Dr. Snipes, I got her to admit on the stand that aliens are registering and voting in Broward, felons are registered and voting in Broward. And when she mailed out voter registration cards a couple of years ago, she put the name on the address on the card, but she used the wrong address. She used someone else's address. So all these voter registration cards are being mailed out to the wrong people. Now that's important. It's not just crazy, but it's important for federal law because that event of mailing a card triggers a time process under motor voter for how long you have to wait to remove somebody from the rolls.
But you see up close and personal.
You know, I sometimes like to use the term child sex slavery, where they
trafficking, but you see up close and
rescuing children from sexual slavery.
We all know the term child sex trafficking, but you see up close and personal.
You know, I sometimes like to use the term child sex slavery, where they force them to do sexual acts on video. And I'm talking, these kids are as young as 7 years old or younger.
Tim is the founder of Operation Underground Railroad. On this mission, the unit heads to the Colombian town Cartagena, where cutting deals isn't limited to dark alleys.
We have to pretend to be sex tourists, talking to taxi drivers, sitting on the beach and waiting for a vendor to come up and start offering us everything from drugs to adult women, and eventually it comes up, well, how about children? At that point, we tell them that we want to have a party. We want to have a sex party, and we want children to be the objects of lust for this party.
For this job, the alleged traffickers think they are bringing kids to a party where the children will be brokered to a bunch of American pervs. But first, the deal is struck, seen here on hidden camera.
The boys is gonna like her. Yes, yes. How old is she? 15?
The big night comes. Tim and his agents spin an elaborate web. No detail is left to chance.
We're gonna make a sign that says Feliz Cumpleaños a Maria. We get some balloons.
This girls can do that?
Yeah, so we're gonna put that on the door, just in case, and that's for looky-loos outside who see.
They put balloons on the door of the room where they're gonna party with these children.
Tim briefs the team on how the sting will unfold.
The rendezvous point, which a lot of you know is the hotel at the end of this street. Don't talk about that outside this room.
Then, it's party time. The girls are herded like cattle. Traffickers thinking they're about to make a ton of cash, charging $300 per girl and $1,000 for a virgin.
Everyone's coming in.
The boss will like the one wearing shorts. Yeah. 14. How old is she? 14? Perfect. 12 years old. Is that one? Hi, girls. 14, 12. The 14-year-old, what does she do? Everything. She does everything.